The alien ship didn't land so much as it folded into existence above the Pacific, just outside the exclusion zone where Earth's navies monitored for anomalies. It hovered silently, a blue-silver hexagonal prism suspended in the clouds. Within it, the challenge had already been planned, discussed, and signed off by 6 interstellar delegates. Earth, however, was not consulted. On the deck of the research vessel Halberd, Wesley Karr was not looking at the sky. He was underwater, tethered by a thick cable and poking around a coral trench with a modified camera rod. The ocean was calm, the kind of deceptive calm that made old sailors twitch. 40 feet below the surface, Wesley was elbow-deep in silt when his radio crackled. "Wes," came the voice of Rika, the ship's communications officer. "Something's up top. You need to surface." Now he clutched the rod tighter. "If it's another weather drone, tell command to file a report. I'm busy." "No, Wes, it's not weather, it's not us." "It's not even just get up here." Wesley sighed, gave the sediment one last prod, and kicked off the reef wall. By the time he broke the surface and was pulled aboard, the Halberd's crew stood in silence, staring skyward. "Where's the storm?" Wesley asked, blinking away salt water. Rika pointed wordlessly. He followed her gaze. The ship pulsed in the clouds like a heartbeat. Light shimmered from its edges, not bright, but unnaturally clean. Wesley's voice cracked. "That's not one of ours, is it?" "No," said Captain Harrow, stepping beside him. "It's not even from this planet." Within the hour, the alien made contact. He arrived in a shimmer of ozone and static, stepping onto the Halberd's deck as if he took casual strolls between planets. He was tall, thin, with skin like smooth volcanic rock and large eyes that blinked sideways. He didn't speak at first. He waited. Hello," Wesley tried. The alien tilted his head. Captain Harrow stepped forward. "I'm Captain Harrow of the Halberd. We represent Earth's Oceanic Research Division." "I am Veln," the alien finally said. His voice was low and monotone, but not cold. "I am here for assessment." "Assessment of what?" Harrow asked. Veln turned to Wesley. "You are the one who descended to 40 feet with limited suit protection." Wesley stiffened. "Yeah, I do that. It's my job. You improvised oxygen regulation using reconfigured refrigeration coils. You used hand-woven mesh to reinforce a pressure suit that was not designed for deep submersion." "I wait, how do you know that?" "I observe," said Veln. "For this reason I have chosen you." "Chosen me for what?" Veln raised a hand. A holographic projection flared into the air, showing a deep trench far deeper than Wesley had ever seen. The image spun to show a structure at the bottom, angular, ancient, unmistakably artificial. This ruin lies at the base of the Tethys Abyss. Depth, over 8,000 meters. Pressure, over 1,000 atmospheres. You are to descend and retrieve the object within. Wesley blinked. "You want me to go down there, me, a human?" "You may decline." "Good, then I decline." "But," Veln continued, "should you accept, I will offer mentorship. You may use only materials native to your planet. No alien technology, no assistance beyond my voice." Wesley hesitated. The rest of the crew stared at him, stunned. "What's the catch?" Wesley asked. "No catch, only learning." "Why me?" "You have already begun. You adapted. The others." "Hesitate," Rika whispered. "Wes, don't." But Wesley looked at the trench again. "What happens if I say yes? You will build, you will learn. If you survive, you will understand." He exhaled slowly. "Fine, I accept." Veln nodded once. "Begin." The mentorship began the next day. Veln established a comms link directly through a small crystalline node that hovered near Wesley's workbench. It flickered when the alien spoke, glowed when he was watching. Wesley was given access to a coastal research garage near Oregon. It wasn't much, just a rundown facility with rusting tools and flooded plumbing, but the materials were abundant. Salvaged metals, pressure-tolerant polymers, carbon composites, and duct tape. Far too much duct tape. "Your challenge," Veln said, "is not only survival, it is function. You must walk, manipulate, retrieve, and return." Wesley laughed dryly. "No problem, just like a walk in the park, at the bottom of the ocean." He began with the core, a suit that could withstand crushing pressure without weighing a ton. Traditional designs were out. He needed something flexible, something that wouldn't lock up at depth. He tried reinforced plastic shells first. They cracked in the pressure simulator. Then he tried layered carbon sheets, vacuum-sealed between aluminum plates. better, but mobility was terrible. At night, he soaked his aching hands in ice water. His joints screamed from wrenching bolts and hammering rivets 12 hours a day. The suit's armature had to allow him full articulation, but it also had to be sealed like a submarine. Veln offered suggestions, never answers. "Consider the spider crab," Veln said. "Its joints flex under pressure without loss of function." Wesley studied the anatomy of deep-sea crustaceans and revised the limb design to include flexible joints packed with non-compressible gel homemade from modified petroleum jelly and rubber sealant. He tested it in a pressurized tank. It held. 3 weeks in, he slipped on an oil patch and fractured his forearm. He screamed, the pain shooting up to his shoulder. Reeker rushed him to the hospital. The X-ray confirmed a non-displaced radial fracture. "You'll need a cast for 6 weeks," the doctor said. "Minimal strain, no lifting." Back at the garage, Wesley stared at his half-finished suit. His dominant arm was useless. He tried working with one hand. It was slow, exhausting. Veln didn't speak for 3 days. When he finally did, his voice was softer. "Do you continue?" Wesley growled. "Of course I do." He built a rig for his wrist, a counterweight system that let him hold tools with the casted arm using chest-driven pulleys. It looked ridiculous. It worked. By the 5th week, he was limping too. An old knee injury flared up from standing too long. He added a brace, gritted his teeth, and kept welding. The final suit, after 63 days, looked like a hybrid of a crab and a medieval knight, reinforced composite plating over a flexible mesh exosuit. Gel-packed joints. A pressure-sealed helmet built from a salvaged aircraft canopy with a custom-molded silicone neck seal. The oxygen system was a repurposed scuba tank, retrofitted with a CO2 scrubber made from aquarium parts and camping filters. "It is functional," Veln said, circling the suit holographically. "That's it, just functional. I nearly broke my back putting this together. You have not yet descended." Wesley tested the suit in stages. First, a shallow dive at 200 meters, then a remote drop to 1,000. When the suit returned intact, he suited up and went with it. At 2,000 meters, the world turned black. His lights illuminated only floating particulates and the occasional drifting jellyfish. The pressure groaned against his helmet but held. He returned shaken but alive. The final dive was scheduled for the following week. His arm had healed just enough to remove the cast. His strength was returning. He trained daily, simulating the trench walk in a pool rigged with weights. The night before the dive, Veln appeared in person. "You have done what many would not attempt," he said. Wesley, lying on a cot with his knee wrapped in ice, didn't look up. "Is that your way of saying I might die tomorrow?" "Yes." "Then why not stop me? Because this is how you learn." Wesley closed his eyes. "Then let's hope I've learned enough." The descent began at dawn. Sky overcast, sea like slate. A support vessel, the Perilous, had been towed in overnight, a creaking, modified crab trawler with just enough retrofitting to double as a launch platform. Its deck reeked of diesel and old salt. Wesley stood on it in his suit, visor up, breathing slow through his nose. The helmet clamped in his right hand felt heavier than it had yesterday. "You're going to lose feeling in your hands at depth," said Dr. Amina Feld, the only physician aboard and the one person not trying to talk him out of this. "Circulation drops off around 6,000 meters. You'll feel pins and needles at best, at worst, nothing at all." Wesley adjusted a strap at his hip. "Thanks, that's deeply comforting. I'm telling you so you don't panic when it happens. You'll still be able to move, you just won't trust your own grip." He flexed his fingers. "Great. I've always wanted to operate blind and numb." Behind them, Veln stood by the winch system, arms folded in a way that didn't seem to involve joints. No one had seen him sleep or eat. He refused to sit, and yet he hovered near the equipment like a nervous technician. His expression never changed, but his silence had a weight to it. "You will have 27 minutes on the trench floor," Veln said. "After that, the oxygen reserve cannot compensate for repressurization." Wesley glanced at the retrieval rig, an improvised steel capsule bolted to the suit's back like a turtle shell. It had room for one object, roughly the size of a shoebox. No one knew what it was. "The only instruction, bring it up intact." "You know," Wesley said, I would have preferred a less mysterious death. Veln blinked once. Then do not die. By late morning, the water was calm enough for launch. The exosuit creaked as Wesley climbed into the deployment cradle. Crew members secured the harnesses with the robotic indifference of people who'd done the same motion 100 times, though none of them had sent someone 8,000 meters straight down before. Dr. Feld leaned in. If you feel any disorientation or sudden nausea, abort. I don't care what the alien says. He's got a name. I don't. The cradle locked. Wesley's helmet sealed with a hiss. The interior lights flickered on, casting a soft blue over the control panel inside the visor. Pressure checks green. CO2 scrubbers stable. Joint fluid temperature at nominal. Veln raised a hand. The winch groaned as the cradle tilted and released. Wesley hit the water with a dull thud. No splash, just weight. The cradle sank like a dropped wrench, cables unspooling in slow, measured rhythm. The surface faded above him. Light dimmed from gray to green, then to nothing at all. At 2,000 meters, the suit hummed steadily, joints flexing without stiffness. He rotated his wrists, still responsive. He tried clenching a fist, fingers closed slower than normal but reliable. Pulse elevated, Veln's voice said through the comms. Heart rhythm erratic, you must regulate. Kind of hard to be zen when you're being swallowed whole by the ocean. Panic will consume oxygen, noted. By 3,000 meters, the cold had set in. Despite the insulation, his toes were numb. He shifted inside the suit to reactivate blood flow. At 5,000, his fingertips began to tingle. He flexed his left hand, it responded sluggishly. The right was fine for now. The trench appeared at 6,000, not as a wall, but a sudden absence. A vast drop where the seabed simply fell away. The lights mounted on his shoulders cast twin beams over the edge. Below, nothing but ink. Descent vector adjusted, Veln said. Maintain orientation, do not rotate. Wesley gritted his teeth and initiated the dive thrusters. The suit tilted forward. He let gravity take the lead. The trench walls passed like cliffs, sheer and pockmarked with strange formations, some natural, others too smooth, too deliberate. At 7,500, the pressure made his ears ring. The suit groaned from somewhere near the knees. Status, he asked. Structural integrity within tolerance, Veln replied. You will reach the floor in 120 seconds. Still can't feel my fingers. You will adapt. When the suit touched down, it did so with a soft crunch. Sediment kicked up and settled in slow motion. Wesley checked the altitude reader. 8,100 meters. The deepest any human had stood unaided. He took a step. The leg responded a beat late, but it responded. He tested the other. It dragged slightly. He compensated with his upper body, shifting the balance to keep upright. Audio is degraded, Veln said. Visual feed holding. Proceed 40 meters forward and descend slope. Wesley scanned the rocks ahead. They're a sloping path, carved unnaturally smooth, leading deeper into the fissure. He moved toward it, each step a deliberate calculation. The trench narrowed as he descended. The walls began to shimmer faintly, not from his lights, but from something embedded within thin lines like veins, pulsing faintly. You seeing this? Confirmed. Structural pattern consistent with precursor architecture. You could have mentioned that earlier. You would have doubted. He reached the base of the slope. Before him stood a doorway rounded, 3 meters high, partially buried. In the center, a rectangular alcove, just deep enough for something to be removed. His heart rate spiked. Inside the alcove sat a cube, smooth, opaque, no markings. I'm at the object. Retrieve, do not rotate. Wesley extended the retrieval arm. His hand hovered inches from the cube. He hesitated. Any chance this is explosive? Unknown. Great. He clamped down and lifted. The cube resisted, then released with a low vibration that traveled through the suit's frame. He locked it into the retrieval shell. The hatch sealed. Extraction complete. Ascend immediately, he turned. Something moved behind him, he froze. What was that? Repeat. There's movement. The trench wall shifted, not a current. Something behind the rock, long coiled, it retracted out of sight. Wesley. Ascend. He activated the thrusters. The suit rose slowly at first, then faster. The light from the doorway faded. The trench receded. At 7,000 meters, the shaking began, a low tremor that built in pulses. What is that? Seismic activity. Origin unclear. Increase ascent velocity, already at max. At 6,500, a shadow passed beneath him. Fast, too fast. Something's following, maintain course. Yeah, that's kind of the plan. At 5,000, something struck the suit from below, hard. The impact tilted him sideways. He corrected, barely avoiding a spin. Structural damage, minor. Shell intact. The lights flickered. The oxygen gauge dropped. Lost 10%. Sudden draw. Continue ascent. The shadow rose again. This time Wesley saw the shape wide, eel-like, with fins that flickered like torn fabric. It didn't attack, it circled. Not hostile, he said. You cannot know that. It's not slamming into me again. That's a plus. At 3,000, the creature veered off. Wesley exhaled, watching the last of the trench fade into the dark. At 1,000, the cradle re-engaged. The suit locked into place. The winch began pulling him up. When the suit broke the surface, it was night again. Rain fell in sheets. The deck swarmed with activity. Dr. Feld waited at the edge, soaked, unblinking. The cradle clicked into dock. The hatch hissed. Wesley slumped forward, exhausted. I need help. 2 crew members yanked the helmet free. Steam poured out. Dr. Feld checked his pupils as he swayed. Conscious, breathing, pupils reactive. Any pain? Everywhere, she nodded. Good. That means nothing's broken. Veln stepped forward as the retrieval shell was pried open. The cube was lifted out, still warm, slightly vibrating. What is it? Wesley asked, voice hoarse. Veln placed a 3-fingered hand on the object. The vibration stopped. It is a seed. You sent me 8,000 meters down for a plant. No, for what it will become, doctor. Feld helped Wesley to a bench. He sank onto it, shivering. I need sleep and soup, in that order. Veln turned toward him. You have passed. Passed what? The first trial. Wesley's hands wouldn't stop trembling. Not from fear, he'd burned through all of that, but from sheer, unfiltered exhaustion. He sat on the edge of a narrow bunk in the infirmary cabin of the Marylet, legs splayed out, arms limp at his sides, boots still wet. His fingertips tingled like they were being brushed with static. Doctor. Feld moved around him with practiced efficiency, tugging off his gloves and checking the mottled skin beneath. Capillary refills delayed, she said. You're borderline hyposic. Sounds dramatic. You're lucky your circulation didn't shut down mid-dive, that gel you packed into the joints. It redirected pressure nicely, but it locked up flow to your extremities. He blinked slowly. So next time I just let the ocean crush me instead. No, next time you don't go. Feld, there won't be a next time, she grunted. That's what you said right before the trench. Veln stood in the doorway, still and silent, watching with an intensity that didn't match his expressionless face. The cube, now inert, rested in a containment crate in the adjacent room. Its vibrations had ceased entirely once brought above sea level. Nothing glowed, nothing hummed. It might as well have been a paperweight. Wesley turned his head toward him without lifting his body. So, what exactly did I almost die for? Veln approached the foot of the bunk, his gait smooth and soundless. This object is a biological dormant vector. It contains encoded instructions for environmental recalibration. English, please. It is a seed that adapts to its host world. It analyzes its surroundings and grows into whatever form restores balance. Feld tilted her head. Like terraforming, not in the way you understand it. This does not reshape land. It corrects imbalance. Air, water, microbial life, it repairs what has been lost. Wesley shifted uncomfortably. So it's alive, potentially. Until activated, it is neither organic nor inert. It is waiting. Feld crossed her arms. And it was just sitting at the bottom of the trench for what, thousands of years? Longer. Wesley rubbed his face. You could have said all that before I got in the suit. You would not have understood. I still don't. Veln didn't respond. Instead, he moved to the containment crate and placed a hand gently on the lid. The small lights along its surface flared once, then dimmed. Feld frowned. Is it reacting to you? No, it is reacting to him. Wesley's brow creased. Me, what did I do? You completed the retrieval cycle. It is now attuned to your biological imprint. That's not creepy at all. Feld stepped forward. Is this thing dangerous to him? No, she didn't look convinced. That sounded like a delay. Veln lifted his hand from the crate. It is not dangerous. But it is connected. Wesley sat up straighter slowly. Connected how? It will not activate until you choose. He laughed once, flat and tired. Choose what? I barely made it out with all my bones intact. You may now decide its function. I don't even know what it does. That is why you must learn, Feld threw up her arms. No, absolutely not. He needs rest, fluids, and probably a month of physical therapy. You don't get to dangle another mystery in front of him like a carrot. Wesley looked at her. Doc, I appreciate that, but if I went through all that for a glorified box, I at least want to know what it means. She leaned in, voice lower. You're still running a fever. Do you know how many micro tears are in your muscles right now? Your blood work is going to look like a car crash report. I feel fine. You feel adrenaline. He looked at Veln. What exactly are you asking me to do? Veln stepped back from the crate. Place your hand on the object. It will read your chemistry. Your mind will influence its function. That sounds like science fiction. It is not fiction. Wesley pushed himself to his feet, wobbling once before catching the wall. Feld hovered behind him, hands half raised to steady him, but he waved her off. Let's get this over with. He stepped into the containment room. The crate stood waist high, the surface matte and cool. He hesitated, then pressed his palm flat against it. A heartbeat passed, then another. The surface beneath his hand warmed. Not hot just enough to be noticed. A faint, high-pitched resonance filled the air, like a wine glass being rubbed. The crate lit from within, veins of soft green light racing outward from his palm. Feld watched through the window, lips parted. Veln observed, unmoving. Wesley didn't feel anything intrusive. Just a sense of unfolding, like an idea forming in the back of his mind. He closed his eyes. A sound, deep and reverberating, rang once in the chamber. Then silence. The lights faded. He opened his eyes and stepped back. The crate clicked open. Inside sat the cube, now split along one edge, revealing a translucent interior. Suspended within it was something small and organic, a cluster of threads, like fungal mycelium, suspended in a viscous fluid. Feld entered and leaned over it. That wasn't there before. It was always there, Veln said, but now it has chosen a form. Wesley looked at the threads. They shifted slowly, as if drifting in a breeze that didn't exist. What happens if I touch it now? He asked. It will begin replication. A single strand placed in water will multiply. It will clean, restore, and balance. Feld narrowed her eyes. You're telling me this thing is going to fix the ocean? It will correct what was damaged. Wesley exhaled, hands on hips. So, that's it. I just drop a piece in the water and walk away. No, it must be placed with intention. The vector cannot function where it is not wanted. Feld crossed her arms. That's convenient. It is necessary. Wesley turned to her. We've got that algae bloom off the coast of Veracruz. Eating up oxygen, suffocating everything. Even if this thing does what he says, we'd need clearance, oversight. You can't just toss alien biomatter into the sea. I'm not saying we dump it wholesale, just a test, she sighed. You do realize if it mutates or spreads uncontrollably, you'll have a dozen governments clawing for your throat. Veln spoke again. It will not mutate. Its function is to restore balance, not override it. Easy for you to say, Feld muttered. Wesley met her eyes. You told me I shouldn't go back down, I agree. But if this thing can make the next dive unnecessary for someone else, I have to try. She didn't answer. But she didn't argue either. By dusk, a small research skiff was deployed from the Merilit, carrying Wesley, Feld, and the containment capsule. They navigated to a dead zone near a reef shelf, water opaque with decay. Wesley leaned over the edge, holding a vial containing a single thread from the cube. You sure about this? Feld asked. No. He unscrewed the vial and poured the contents into the sea. Nothing happened at first. Then the water began to clear. Tiny bubbles formed as the thread dissolved. Filaments spread outward, invisible to the eye but visible in effect. The murk receded. The smell lightened. Fish small and silver darted into view from beneath the skiff, moving with cautious curiosity. Wesley stared into the water, stunned. Feld's voice was low. That shouldn't be possible. Veln, watching from the Merilit's deck, said nothing. Back on the ship, Wesley sat alone at the stern, feet dangling just above the water. The stars had come out, faint but visible. Feld leaned on the railing beside him. Your vitals look stable, by the way. Might be the first time today. I'll take it. You still think there won't be a next time? He looked at the horizon. There doesn't need to be. Whatever it is we're meant to fix, We've got the tools now. No more proving ourselves, she nodded. That's a first. Veln appeared at the other end of the deck, watching them with the same unreadable gaze. Wesley waved lazily at him. You're welcome. Veln tilted his head once. You have completed the trial. You are no longer a student. Good. I hated homework. You are now a custodian. Wesley groaned. That sounds worse. But Feld smiled, and even Veln's eyes seemed to reflect a flicker of something, maybe approval, maybe relief. The ocean was quiet, still, balanced, and for the first time in months, Wesley felt the same.